Yemi Ajayi for the background report, and joining us now is Honorable Mark Essert. Is the Chairman, House Committee on Inter-Parliamentary Relations and a member of the House Committee on Petroleum Downstream, member representing Uyo Uran Federal Constituency. I mean, that name is tongue twisting. Claire.
Well, he's here. He's here to help you out.
So he will help me out. So let me just avoid. Don't let me mother the name, please. All right. So, Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Also joining us is Honorable Segios Ogun, former member House of Representatives. Honorable, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we also have Iyabage Yusuf Sani, who is a petroleum industry analyst, of course, a familiar face in Good Morning Nigeria, and indeed, Honorable Ogun is also a familiar face, of course, here in Good Morning Nigeria. I think it's just Honorable Essert that we should welcome.
Unfamiliar face.
No, I will use that. We should welcome you. We should give you a rousing welcome. Yes.
Anyway, so
thank you very much for joining us.
So let's just start with him, Honorable Essert. Just give us an overview of the gas flaring prohibition and enforcement bill. Just an overview of it and its objectives.
Yeah, thank you very much. The bill, sponsored by my colleague, Honorable Jimmy Benson, has passed through the first and second reading. The bill, the general overview of the bill is it seeks to put a stop to this unwarranted gas flaring, which is life-threatening. And some penalties have been spelled out. There are some conditions, if there should be at all any reason for gas flaring. And the bill seeks to safeguard the environment and the citizens against this issue of gas flaring. It's a very wonderful bill. And when it was read the second time, it had the overwhelming support of all the members. So that is what the general overview about the bill.
Okay, maybe I'll just take it a little further, for clarification purposes, because this bill, if you can just itemize what it seeks, you have just said it's to stop flaring, the ordinary man would understand that. But in specific terms, what are the
objectives?
Yes, in specific terms.
The objectives, yes.
That is the objectives of the bill, as I've said, is to ensure that the issue of gas flaring is curtailed, and there should be the bill also seeks provide some punitive measures for anyone. That is one of the items on the bill that engages in gas flaring, companies that engages in it, and also penalties. It provides for penalties.
You know why I'm asking? Because I remember sometime in 2022, there was a gazette on the gas flare prohibition and pollution, regulation. It was gazetted, and that, stipulated penalties for those companies, that are flaring or even venting gas. And penalty, for instance, was moved from I think $0.3 or so to even $2. Yes, $2. So what makes this bill different from that?
Yeah, we are amending some of the sections, like the penalty for gas flaring, $2 for a barrel you flare. A company looking at the cost of converting the gas to resourceful product, which is more than the cost of the penalty, we rather prefer to flare the gas and pay the penalty. So, but this bill now seeks to bring stringent measures, more punitive actions that would deter you from wanting to pay the penalties, which is one of the key areas in this bill.
We need to dissect this bill that we know what to...
Well, maybe in the course of the discussion, we'll do that. So let's bring in Honorable Ogun now. What is the true state of affairs with gas flaring in Nigeria? Just give us the true state of affairs.
Well, a gas flaring is a necessary evil when you are drilling for oil and gas. These are combustible gases that if you don't take them away, it will affect the production of oil. It can lead to explosion and all that. So, but the challenge is for a poor nation like us, we should be able to harness it. So, it's cheaper for the producer to take out, to get the gas to vent, to escape, so that you can concentrate on your crude. It's been like that. Okay. It's okay, but now we should harness it. One, because of the damage to the environment. And secondly, this is raw cash. You can use it to power, and of course, power the houses, powerhouses, and then LPG, and so many other things harnessing the gas will do for you. So, I give another example. I think I've been in this studio when I said, if when you are drilling for gas, or when you're producing gas, it's like a human being breathing.
Okay.
You cannot close your nose and your mouth and not allow air to come out. That's what gas flare does. So, but when you allow it to flare into the atmosphere, beside the greenhouse issues, carbon dioxide and all that, it's harmful to the environment. But having said that, I don't know whether this bill is necessary. Because like you alluded to, there was a gas flare prohibition and punishment bill, by the Senate. I don't know whether that bill even ever went through. As at the same time that the Nigerian gas flaring and is it gas flare?
Discrepancies. I think it's...
I know there was one that the Nigerian gas flare and commercialization program.
Okay. Yes.
Put measures in place to get private sectors to come in and invest and all that. And this other bill was going on in the Senate in 2017 and all. But guess what? Even the PIA has the robust measures to take care of all this. But the challenge is the implementation. The challenge, section 104 in the PIA, 2021 here, has talked about the penalties, how the monies will be used and all that. Now, we even have the midstream, downstream gas infrastructure bill. Rather, gas infrastructure fund. Money is available there to build infrastructure.
Okay.
And and how the money will be raised into midstream and downstream, the bodies, all the channels where the money will come from and all. So again, I don't know whether this bill is necessary because all the measures are there to harness, to prevent, and then to penalize people, that will stop flare.
Well, but he just said that probably the penalty will be more. But I've also seen a bit of the bill. The penalty is about maybe $5.
Yeah, I think from 2 to 5. Okay, guess what? There was a tax tribunal appeal. Tax appeal tribunal. Mobi actually took FRS to court. And what was the ruling? So at times when we dissipate energy doing what is not in this country, it's laughable. The ruling from the tribunal then was that the levies by the AGRA, Associated Gas Reinjection Act, that when you flout it, you pay penalties.
Yeah.
So, and even the penalty, like what we are saying now, is negligible. So they would rather flare. But guess what that appeal tribunal said? That the levies that are paid are refundable on deductible income. That's on your tax. So you pay levies to the government for flaring gas. That's negligible. They at the end of the year, when they are deducting money from your tax, that one is like returned to you. So you are flaring gas for free.
For free.
So it's not an issue of saying that it's $2 and you want to increase it to $5. Those issues will still be there. But guess what? The PIA has taken care of this.
Honorable Gun, let's allow you to hold it, because I think that in every legal instrument, there's always something to expect. We will also allow him to, open up.
Yes.
What you say him as if he's not the one that brought the bill.
He's not.
Yes, but
as if he's a member of the ministry, you're not a member of gas committee. So don't put him on the cruise.
I'm not a sponsor of the bill.
Exactly.
Well,
but
you're a member of the House.
He will just explain.
And he's not even a member of the committee.
So being a member of the House is different, because when once a bill is sponsored, the sponsor of the bill has a vision of what he wants to achieve. if you make a contribution on the floor, it's based on your own understanding or what you feel should be.
Okay.
So
But
the details of the bill.
That vision is bought by every member of the House, right?
Yes,
But
at the point of second reading, which is the debate, what he does is just give you an overview. He's not going into the details.
okay, but we will have the pleasure of knowing what you think and some of your colleagues, your own perspective to the bill. Okay. But let's bring in Yabagi now. I also recall, because we've had conversations on this gas flaring and venting, there was an investigative hearing also by joint House committee. I think it was led, the chairman there was Nicholas. He's still the chairman now. And they came up with, the recommendations, to both companies, to government, and even to private, stakeholders and all that. Now we are having this one. Are we going in cycles? Are we just going in, is this from your perspective as an petroleum industry analyst?
Well, I think the case is that there are certain fundamentals that we have not addressed as a nation. And that is why, if you do not address the basics, what you do after that will just be come to naught in terms of what accrues to you, in terms of benefits and things like that. The question, I think the bill that I was expecting National Assembly to introduce is, how do we even measure production? Because as we speak today, I don't know how much PIA says about measurement of production. Because today, when, for instance, NIT is conducting their studies to determine volume and water accrues, it's haphazard. Every producer will now say, some will say, okay, we'll measure production at export. So when royalty is supposed to be paid at, where the thing comes out of the wellheads. So the issue, why I'm saying the basics are being left is that, what about the metering of the wellheads? Because if you meter the wellheads, you will know exactly how much gas is even coming out, from that point. You will know how much water, you know how much crude oil, and other things. And I don't buy the idea of saying that it's necessary for us to endure this degradation of our environment and wasteful attitude of our resources. Take like Norway, they have zero tolerance for gas flaring. They are on this earth too, just like we are. The equipment to do that is available. To say that if you want to produce crude oil, you must re-inject the gas. There's nothing wrong with you saying that, because it is your wealth that you are trying to protect. Today, as we speak, we don't even have meters. When they talk about penalty and things, how do you even measure the penalty? Where are the meters? It's there in the PIA and what have you. But meters are not installed. It is still it's guesswork that is going on. So we have more fundamental issues that National Assembly should zero their mind to, because production is very important. That is where every other thing comes out from. Gas flaring, the PPT you talk about, the volume, everything. If you lose that aspect of the value chain, you've lost everything. And like you said, the Honorable here says, the producers will be more than glad to pay $10 if you want them to pay $10 as penalty, because what they need to do for you as a nation, which is to re-inject that gas and then convert it to LNG or even produce LPG that we are suffering here. We have the resources here, but we have to go and import, bottled LPG when we are flaring this thing, killing our own people, killing our environment. So I am for the addressing of the fundamental, which is how do we measure production, because that is key. Today they said that the gas flaring, the royalty is going to be paid, from export. How do you ever allow that to happen? So gas flaring, yes, I commend the effort of the gentleman, the Honorable, who introduced the bill, but it should go beyond, that chain. I mean that node in the value chain. To go tell us, how do you produce? How do you measure production? How do we meter it? We can't go on with temperature and pressure sensors, monitoring, and you cannot even tell how much crude oil you are losing, because, and again, another very fundamental thing that we must talk about is at what point do you assign, ownership to of the crude to people who are drilling this crude or who are producing. What we do today in this country is that when the thieves have taken whatever they want to take, everybody has done whatever they want to do, and now the man now say, okay, there's a vessel here. I'm loading 1 million barrels into the vessel, and they say we are taking 0.99% of that 1 million barrels. That is your production. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
You've lost. So how much? What about the losses? What about the measurement of all these things? Government suffers that as a nation. We continue to suffer that, and the producers do not suffer anything. You tell them to put meters. Say, okay, put meters even at the flow stations. If you don't want to put at gathering fields, if you don't want to put at the production at the wellheads, let us know what you are producing at the gathering fields, where you separate water and gas and everything. Let us know how much. They don't have. We don't have meters. You have meters only when it's going to become money for them. That's why you have physical meters.
This was part of the recommendations made by that joint house committee to even those who oversight the regulators. That's the yes, and those who oversight.
That's why there's an argument going on now on this tax reform. When NURPC is trying to see how they can continue to loot this country by saying that they should continue to collect the royalties, which is wrong. The NURPC is set up to license. You can collect licensing fees or whatever you call it before somebody comes into industry to do whatever they want to do, either as a producer or to collect gas or whatever. You can license them, collect licensing fees. That's agreeable. But when it comes to tax and royalties, there are experts in that, which is the FRS. So nobody should buy the idea. I was watching, was it Arise, 2 days ago, and Robin Abati was saying that the royalties is collected by a bank, Morgan, whatever. How does a bank come to Nigeria to collect royalties for us?
Anyway,
where is the equipment? So the tax reform should not allow any RPC to continue to collect royalties. That's what I'm saying.
Just hold on. That's Yaya Seidu, a lawyer and researcher, has just joined us via Zoom. There he is. Yaya Seidu, thank you very much for joining us. And we are glad you are a researcher. Please share your perspective. A bill has passed first and second reading on, regulation of gas flaring and venting, and of course, tightening the penalties for offenders. What are your thoughts about this? Do you think that we should have moved beyond this, considering the fact that since in the 80s, illegal flaring was outlawed in this country, and we have just 6 years.
1984. To be precise.
Yes, and we have just 6 years to hit the 2030 our contribution to climate change emission reduction.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning to you all. Well, it is firmly rooted in our constitution that environment should be protected, and I think the aim of this bill is nothing far from that. But my own take on this, I think, is on the issue of the penalty. Gas flaring, just like oil spillage, they are like two identical, environmental, in law we say nuisance, because these are things that affect the health and the environment and even individuals. it causes damages, inflict injuries on individuals and communities. So my take is the bill is a welcome one, because what we used to before were regulations and just, I think, a provision under Section 104 of the Petroleum Industry Act that made reference to that prohibits gas flaring unless you have an authorization. And even at that, you will have, there is a kind of a fee that you are expected to even pay, for you to be allowed to, fly the gas. But my take on this particular bill is, I think they should borrow from the provisions in the this NOSDRA Act, that is the National Oil Spillage Detection and Response Agency Act. I think Section 5 or so, I don't know, I cannot vividly recall, makes a provision regarding penalty. These are the same issues if you look at it, this oil spillage and the gas flaring. So I feel they should, the penalty should go beyond, $5, what do you call it, $5 penalty for gas flaring, because in 2018, I think it was even the present first lady that I think brought a bill at the Senate, to amend the 2006 Oil Spillage Act, and part of the recommendation in that bill was to raise the penalty for oil spillage from 500,000 naira, per day from the day the occurrence of the spillage, occur, to as much as 2 million naira per day. You understand? So I think if oil spillage can have a penalty of 5 million, per day, 2 million per day, from the day of the occurrence of that spilling till, like 2 million every day. You understand? So I think that provision is okay, and I think they should borrow from that provision too and make it even as much as let us even say 3 million, because the difference between gas flaring and this is, if the gas they flare, they have an advantage on it, like they can flare gas to make profit. You understand? So why don't they make it a provision in this proposed bill that the penalty for a gas flaring should be around 2 million or more? You understand? Since there is benefit, there is economic advantage for flaring. You understand? So I think this bill should go beyond
Thank you very much, Saidu, for your perspective there. The need for them to review the sanction concerning this bill. Now, I want Honorable Esset to respond to some of the issues raised by the guest here. The issues of the fundamental issues of metering, one, and also that of the reviewing the penalties, and whether this bill is actually necessary.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, from what Mr. Saidu said about the metering, every progressive Nigerian will support what he has said. And it goes in line with the bill. Every action taken by the legislature is to see how we can cope this issue of gas flaring. Don't forget, we are not the executive. Executive implements. Of course, like we've all agreed, there have been other bills enacted to take care of this gas flaring. But how far has it been implemented? So any legislator that comes up will look at what he can do to help cope this menace. In terms of the only way he can do it is through bills and motion. We are not the executive that implements. So what the bill is to show the empathy of the House on this issue of gas flaring. We support every action. That metering is very, very important. Of course, if the equipments are there, if I really want to do business, if I want to make profit, and there are conditions, for me to drill, I must use ABCD instruments as used in other climates, in other countries. So what stops the enforcement agency from ensuring that for me to drill and say in this business, I must use what is provided? That is not the duty of the legislature. That is purely an executive responsibility. So where the executive fails, we come up and say, okay, the executive have not done A, B, C, D, E. Is there any way, through enactment of law, that we can help checkmate these excesses? That is what is happening. And that is what has given rise.
Is that the way your oversight functions comes in?
In oversight functions, like we've heard here, there's been a joint committee set up, still on this issue. A report has been submitted. It's passed by the House. We don't enforce. Legislature don't enforce. So by the time we make report to the enforcement agency, the executive, this is what we found out, this is what should be done. That is where our responsibility stops. So the problem in the country is not the law, it's the willpower, the political powers to do what is right. That is my opinion, and I hold it every day. We have every law that takes care of the problem of this country. But how many of our leaders have the willpower, the political powers, to say this must be done? And until and except this is done, you'll still go around, you'll see this is the 10th assembly, the 11th assembly will come. Members will have the zeal to look at how the laws can be amended. We are now moving from $2 to $5. Probably by the 11th assembly, someone else will come up with from $5 to $10.
At least we're making progress.
We are making progress.
And I said, thank you. And there are issues, let's even leave there are issues, fundamental issues, obviously, with stopping gas flaring and venting. Because some companies also just let out.
As it's escaping.
Yes, and you know, and all that, and that is even more dangerous, you know, for the ozone layer. Now, let us look at the issue again, like you mentioned, the measuring issue. Now, the committee also identified the fact that we don't even know the volume. You know, discrepancies from reporting agencies, we don't know. You know, when they come together to give you the amount that it doesn't tally. Now we're also talking about the penalties now. Now they're moving from $2 to $5. 5,000 cubic. Yeah, 1,000. Is it 1,000? I'm even raising it for you. But 1,000. I mean, please, can you make sense out of all of this? Will this law, if it comes, he said, I mean, laws are not our problems. We have very robust laws. So how will this law now address some of these issues that have been, you know, in existence over the years?
I agree with Honorable said 100%. The law is not the problem. And like I said earlier, we have enough laws to address this. So that's why I don't even think this bill is necessary. So I mentioned earlier the Nigerian gas flare commercialization program.
Yes.
Enumerated all this, espoused all this. For you to get, okay, now they're supposed to license private sector people that will bring in cash. Because we have said the biggest problem with harnessing gas in this country is money. Infrastructure.
I would have said infrastructure.
Yeah, money. You need money to build infrastructure. So because government won't have it, they said, okay, fine, we'll license people. So here you have given an oil company a license to drill oil. But the gas we are talking about largely is associated gas. So the government says, okay, fine, we're going to license somebody to harness the gas from the field that you have given me license to operate in. Government says the gas is our own. But don't forget, the man needs to get that gas because it's combustible to escape so that he can produce the gas, which is his deal with Nigerian government, NNPC. But the Nigerian government has said, okay, we are licensing people to come and take the gas. But in that, you have to produce enough gas for the man that is coming with his equipment and all. Like, the infrastructure is not cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine. You have to produce enough. How do you determine that the man will have enough because of the up and down in production? So that's where I think that deal collapsed. That's one. So in metering, that would not have been an issue because if
Are you saying that program has collapsed?
I don't know whether that program is even on.
I think it is. It's still
With
part.
PIA. They should work side by side.
The gas.
Commercialization
yes,
program.
program. I think it's still been. It hasn't collapsed.
So if it's on why we're talking about this bill then, because that was an excellent proposal. They are talking about 170 sites, active gas flare sites, that you can get these people licensed. Now, most of those programs are supposed to should have started before 2020, and I don't think that program is even on. Okay, but in any case, talking about even metering, if I give you a license and you are just going to go to a field to take the gas, metering will not be a problem because that's where you make your money from. So that will not be a problem. It will be taken care of. So if we go back again, the problem is actually government. If you want to interrogate something like this, you ought to be talking to the Minister of Petroleum. Since 1999, except Jonathan era, that we had a Minister of Petroleum. I'm not the Minister of State. Should you not bring the Minister of Petroleum here? Who is your Minister of Petroleum? The House want to invite the Minister of Petroleum. They dare not. They cannot. In my time in the House, in the last assembly, I brought a bill to the Constitutional Review Committee, and it was accepted. The House passed it. The Senate passed it. The House Assemblies passed it. That you can summon the President or summon the governors, as in case of the House of Assembly. But the last president refused to assent to it. So what I'm saying is, if you hide under the fact that you are president and you are the minister, you can be summoned, because that's where we make the bulk of our money from. And you say you are the minister, you sit in the villa, you are giving instructions and giving orders. So I come back to the fact that the punishment for gas flare or flaring is not the problem. All these have been addressed. Don't forget, you have the JV, you have the PSC, the joint venture and the profit sharing contracts. Almost all the JVs, you have the government having majority shares. So the government is partnering with the IOCs or even the independents. So if you want to punish somebody, if I have majority stake, and you say we are not going to flare here, this is the penalty we will pay. Is it the small holder, the minority holder, that will not be paying that penalty when you, the Baba, you are not paying the penalty? So it starts from the government not even honoring and not willing to do anything about it. And then the profit sharing contract, the PSCs, they started with the deep water projects.
Okay.
Now the recent PSCs are giving for onshore, that's land and swamp. How did we moderate those contracts? When we're giving, because these are recent contracts, did we say we're giving you this license to drill for oil and then to harness the gas? No, we didn't do that. And now you are talking about commercialization of the gas. The man that went, or the company that went and paid so much to explore oil, deep offshore, very expensive, brought their capital. The only money Nigerian government is making there is from the royalty, the taxation. So how do you not dare tell such a person that we are coming to take the gas from you? So the group cold feet from there. So again, is the sincerity and the willingness of the government to do the right thing.
Okay.
All this we are talking about is not a case of move it to $10 or even $20. I gave an example of what the appeal tribunal, the judgment they gave a while ago. So we are working across purposes. The day we are determined to do something about it, we will do it.
So
but I think
the major challenge actually is, just like you have said, is not the law, but the application of the law. Okay,
yes.
fine. Again, let's what mechanism do you think government can, apply here to ensure compliance? What mechanism do you think, so that, this gas flaring will stop, and the proper sanctions, will be meted to offenders?
Well, it will appear as if there's some kind of conspiracy between the operators of oil and gas sector, against Nigeria and Nigerians. Because if you look at even the PIA, which is supposed to come to now open up the industry and allow you to know what is happening, and Nigerians can criticize and correct and things like that. To me, believe you me, most of the provisions of the PIA even made it to be more opaque than hitherto. So when you come to the issue of this gas flaring, like I was saying, and like the Honorable here says, there are agencies of government, and Honorable also confirmed it, that are charged with responsibility to ensure that you have a well-regulated industry, because that industry, like all of us know, is the mainstay of our economy. So there's nothing you do in terms of tightening regulation and monitoring that will be too much. But look at how we are running that industry. It's the most arbitrarily run sector of the economy in this country today. To the extent that, like he says, you don't have a minister that you can summon to ask questions about the mainstay of our economy. Which is the truth. It's the truth. There's no way we can run away from that. And the people working, that's why the people working in that sector of the economy, they're like teen gods. They're like, people that you cannot touch. So until we wake up as a nation and we become serious about what matters to us, oil and gas sector matters to this country, how we survive. And if we keep on toying with it, economy, actually. Exactly. If we keep on toying with it, we will all find ourselves in this kind of mess that we are in today. It will only deepen the mess that we are in today, because the IOCs, they are laughing at us. Like I mentioned, why is it that in their own countries we don't have all these stupid laws that don't factor in the interest of the nation or your people, like Norway? Why is it that they have zero tolerance for gas flaring? The issue is this: every well that you see, the composition in most cases is about 40-60. 60% is gas. In some cases, even 70% or 75% that is gas. It's only 25% that the crude oil, that is crude. So what is important to you as a nation is, what do I do with 75% of composition of my well? But here in this country, it is most ignored aspect of our business. No wonder we have to import LPG. No wonder with all the trend today, towards gas, all over the world, we are left behind. So we to how to take care of that gas flaring and other things is the agencies of the government that are supposed to work. They should stand up. They should really be allowed to work. They are not even equipped. You talk about the NOSRA, the one that is on the environment. How much are they equipped? You talk about agency in charge of metering, that is Western Measures in Department of Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment. That one is in comatose. You talk of all agencies and look at what PIA has done. In fact, it even fostered, these agencies of government that should look into what oil and gas sector is doing. That today, the oil and gas sector RRPs can start the business from the beginning to the end of it, including export, and no other agency will come in to say, what are you doing? So what kind of irresponsible arrangement is that? Your AGF doesn't know what is happening in that sector. The CBA, those ones are bankers. RAMFAC doesn't know what is happening. They don't have a means of knowing what is happening in the sector, the most important sector of the economy. You don't have a metering system. You don't have a monitoring system. And you say you are serious. So the only day we become serious is when we now do what those who are operating here are doing in their own countries too. So that's the only way you can get gas flaring, you can get royalties, you can get the PPT and everything that accrues to the government to accrue to government in the manner that it's supposed to. Not in this, ramshackle kind of arrangement that we have. That's why I say there's some kind of conspiracy. People who in government against Nigerians, as far as oil and gas sector is concerned. Because we know what to do. We know. It's not that we don't know.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's get back
bring it
to Yaya Seidu. Yaya, I'd like you to speak to us. I understand that much of what we need to meet our commitment to climate change reduction, the greenhouse emission reduction, and of course the commitment we made in Paris is to reduce the emission by 20% by 2030. And I'm told that much of what we need to do that comes from gas emission, which is about 18.4%. That's according to private research and all that. And if we don't know what we're flaring, we don't know the volume, we are not getting those who are flaring to be accountable. I mean, where do we go from here? What do you think we need to do beyond the laws? How can we get these companies accountable? What do we need to do as individuals ourselves? So, Mr. Seidu, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
There was a kind of interruption in.
Okay, sorry. I'm just wondering what we need to do to be able to meet up with our, commitment to greenhouse emission reduction by 2030, and our target is 20%. And I'm told that much of what we need to do, is domiciled with gas, reducing, gas flaring and all that. What do we have to do beyond the laws? What do we have to do? Let me put the question to Yabagi.
What we need to do?
Yes, what do we need to do? Because we have a target.
Exactly. The Honorable has said it, and he also, concur with that.
We have a target, 20%.
Enforcement. And the enforcement is very easy. Believe you me, it's very, very easy. Because these people we are talking about are not... The Nigerian oil and gas sector is not a Nigerian, operation, really. By way of the equipment and even the technology and everything you require. So, IOCs that are operating here, that's a standard that they obey in other countries, including their own country. Why can't we hold them to that standard?
The standard we have for them, like, well, what I would call flare for free. I mean, that's what it amounts to. If you give an authorization and then you ask them to pay, some form of money, and at the end of the day, you return the money to them. Authorization. That's one of the rules.
Yes.
Do we still need to retain that?
No. I cited the example of Norway.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Zero.
Yes. Flare.
Yes. Many countries that are sensible, responsible.
What did they do?
What did they do? Tell you that if you want to, like he says, if you want to operate in this country, these are the things you need. If you don't have them now we're in the middle of the whole thing now, isn't it? Give them some few years to equip their facilities to be able to have zero flaring and venting. It's not rocket science. It's something that is possible. It's just that the country does not have, like he says, we don't have the political will. Because we are also involved.
But NTA is one of those that are supposed to,
NTA has been coming out with recommendations, with remediations and things like that. It's in their books. Every time they issue their report, it's there. You are losing billions of dollars, they will tell you. That even the flaring you are talking about, some companies are still owing. Even at the fact that they will get it back, they still don't pay. So as a nation, as National Assembly, they should hold these companies to the standard that they use in their own countries. Make a note that we give you between now and this time. If you don't comply, your license will be withdrawn.
Okay. Alhaji, the gas monetization program is there. That for you, when you are renewing your license, you have to meet these conditions. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is the box starts at the desk of the executive.
Now, okay, now, because he talked about one issue that he raised, that the role of the regulatory agencies. Are you going to review their roles now, to ensure proper implementation? Because that is key, to
We look
having
at the
this
rules,
problem
we look
addressed.
at the law that gives them the mandate, the responsibility. We look
Yes.
at it, definitely we're going to look at it. Because it seems the law does not permit them to bite. Maybe they just sit down and be talking without action, which I don't think so. I strongly don't believe that is what the law.
Doing.
I don't think that is what the law, not even the FCC. See, the problem.
It's about
like
our-
now we are
our-
in this
our-
room now.
our
We are in this room now, and the regulation is that for this program to go on, the cameraman must be around. So time, so number of cameras must be on. That is what the law says. But you come in, the cameramen are not around. The timing, and somebody is there to make sure that this thing works. And not the person does not carry out his responsibility. What happens?
That's the regulatory agencies.
So what do you do where the rules are not kept? What do you do? It's not the lawmakers. It's not our responsibility. That is the regulatory agency, is the executive. You want to come and drill, like we've all agreed, for you to start ABCD equipment must you come, the regulatory agency come and see that you have this. This is what the law says. You must have the wellhead, metering, you must do this before they give you the license. So if these conditions are not met, how did you give the license? You see, the whole system is funny. There was a time in this country, NNPC would say that they don't have any money to declare to the Federation account. And we all kept quiet. And it went for months. But they are producing. Is it the duty of the lawmakers? We investigate and we come out with a report. Implement this. It stops there. So, we need a divine intervention. That is the only way. Because talking about the laws, they are there. Talking about the laws, they are there.
Back to
I don't know why the
Nigeria.
white people are not asking for divine intervention.
Because like
people who are coming to operate here.
the chief here said,
Yes.
those IOCs in their countries, you dare not try venturing into business without meeting these conditions.
No, but it is not the IOCs. It is us. It is us.
Okay.
Yes.
It is us,
You have
yeah.
NTA, you have NOSDRA, you have Federal Ministry of, you have all these people together.
And they are well empowered,
Yes.
right?
Man by
That's what you're
people.
talking about. NTA can only recommend transparency.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
They can only recommend. They can only tell you, like,
You said something about
literally.
executive.
Yes.
That the ball,
Yeah, the box stops on the
Yes,
desk of
please,
the.
can you expand that? How?
Okay, fine. NNPC in the first case is not a regulatory agent. They are not. You have the midstream and downstream, and then you have the upstream and downstream, upstream regulatory, NUPROC. They are the regulatory bodies today. But with the PIA, who created these regulatory bodies, is the same NNPC, which shouldn't be. Now, I'm an industry player. So there are things I just don't want to say here because it's just dissipating energy. The IOCs, the international oil companies, they call them the Five Sisters. They are divesting from onshore, that's land and swamp. Why? How did we get there? Because the so-called PIA took over 20 years, which is the unseriousness on the part of the executive and, I dare say, the National Assembly on seriousness. And we are the biggest hub. We are the oil hub in Africa, supposedly. All the investment went to smaller nations, from Angola to Mozambique and all that. Okay, now, I give this to President Buhari. Because when we were putting the PIA together, they told us that he said, give me a sheet of paper. Put anything there, I will sign it into law. Which we were not desperate to make it work. So that's the willingness of the executive to make something work. But in doing that, NNPC should not have the amount of power they have today. They shouldn't be the ones. Alhaji is NNPC. And then he holds the weight of the nation. He's a producer. MPDC, Nigeria Petroleum Development Company. Now, see, so now, who is going to regulate this body that should be regulated is not the one appointing the regulators.
That should be different from...
Now, we have talked about most of these companies divesting onshore, but the Nigerian government still have their stake there. When you divest, because the operator, the IOCs who were the operators of these assets, now that they have divested, Nigerians are buying. The operatorship has been transferred to NNPC, that's MPDC, the operating arm of NNPC. So they are a major player. And this is why I keep talking about the government. The executive will use NNPC as extra budgetary. And we mentioned here, if the president is the minister of petroleum and they want anything done, extra cash that is not in the budget and all, they call NNPC. They appointed the Minister of State for Petroleum or Gas. They appointed the GMD. Can the GMD come before the Minister of Petroleum and the President to say, what you're asking for me, I can't do it? That's where the problem is from. Like Elijah said, that's why they have messed up the PIA. We're supposed to be a good law. I have been in a meeting in the presidency and they brought something. The body I came with brought something. And the first lady said, not this one. Okay, we have to talk to NNPC, CBN and FRS. Do we have governance code in this country? If we have governance code, why should you use NNPC as extra budgetary? Where did that money come from? Who is reporting to who? So you see, that's what I'm saying. From what we started, the law is not the problem. There are laws. It's the implementation. And we can unshackle the government from NNPC and get it to run as a professional body. We aren't going nowhere.
We aren't going nowhere. Okay, we are going somewhere. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll get to our destination. Stay with us.
Nigeria will only work based on collaboration. We need to start with a mindset shift. There needs to be a shift, in our mindsets to say we need to all see what we can do collaboratively to move Nigeria forward. Now, what am I saying? Without a doubt, this country is replete with talent. We've seen it across board. We've seen that Nigerians will find a way to try and make things work. How about we now bring that and we look to how we can scale it up? We need enabling environment from the government to be able to scale a lot of those things up. From the private sector, we need a private sector that's willing to unleash their own size, what they know how to do best, and collaborate with the government. Let's take access to finance. What are the limiting factors? And what do we need to be able to do to ensure that access to finance is not just at the top of the pyramid, but really trickles all the way down? Without a doubt, SMEs are the engine of any economy. A population of 200 plus million.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
Welcome back. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We still have our guests in the studio, and the discussion is still on gas flaring prohibition and enforcement bill. Claire, you wanted to ask a question before we went on break.
Well, let's see if we can get Saido. Okay, we don't have him.
Okay.
Let's look at the earlier on. You asked about Honorable Gun, you asked about whether the gas commercialization program was still on, and I said yes. I said yes confidently, of course, with that. But I think I can confidently tell you that yes, I think it was relaunched, and it's probably the National Gas Expansion Program now, which is what is going on. I think it's part of the program to get LPG, penetration even to a larger part of the country and all that. And that again requires infrastructure. You mentioned infrastructure, which is a major sore leg in the whole of this, and all that. What do we need to do, to rev up the infrastructural deficits in this area?
The PI Section 52 has the midstream, downstream infrastructure fund. And I think 2 months ago, they gave, I think 5 companies, huge amount of money for infrastructure and all. That would just be, that the funds from midstream and downstream will not be enough. So the gas commercialization program, that's why they envisage the situation where investors will come in with their money. But I don't think that program is well thought out, considering that you have given somebody a license to produce oil, and then you are coming back to say, well, the gas is ours, so we are going to license someone to come and take the gas. And the person you are giving the license to take the gas does not have enough incentive to do that, considering Nigeria is a difficult place to do business.
It doesn't have enough incentive or capacity.
No, they have, because these are private investors that are bringing in their money. Because let's be fair too.
Yeah, because we've seen private investors who brought in their money in energy, yes, in the power sector.
And you have enough power now.
That's what I'm telling you. And they didn't have the capacity.
Because you see, most of these ones are coming from outside, because the midstream and downstream infrastructure fund is giving money to local companies to build infrastructure. But the big money that we need should come from outside, really. Foreign direct investment. It should come in from outside. But they will have to have enough incentive to be able to do that. So now, that's what I said earlier. Tomorrow you are still issuing licenses for crude oil, when you should tie it together. To say, as we are giving you this license, you are drilling for crude oil, and then you are not going to flare gas. You're going to harness the gas, because we need it for power, as in energy. And then we power our household with LPG. And of course, direct and indirect job creation. And then the revenue we will earn from it. So
that's the economic benefits.
Yes, so tomorrow you still wake up and you issue license just for the crude oil. So how do you not tell the man to allow somebody to grant access to the person to come and harness the gas? And the person you are issuing license to come and harness the gas does not have enough incentive to go there and do that. So I think they need to rejig all that. That's what we're saying. Most of these things have been covered in PIA and even the gas commercialization program. So do we really need this bill today? My take is, I don't think we need it. There are enough laws on ground to make sure we collect all the fines. But we are not doing that. And government, they are even the major corporates. So like I say, in the JV, they are partners, senior partners. Okay. What have they done with it? If I have 60% of the stake, and I'm working an operator that has 40%, and I'm saying, okay, we are not going to flare anymore, what steps have I taken to make sure we don't flare, so that we harness the money and everything that will come from it? That's where the challenge is, if you ask me.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Yabagi, we have x-rayed the different challenges, surrounding this bill. But let's look at the economic benefits, if actually is well implemented. What do you think we expect, when the bill is properly implemented? What are the economic benefits that will derive from it?
Well, okay. The other area that I think we have not addressed really is the area of these climate change issues and the COP29 we had now, isn't it? They are talking about adaptation of your environment so that you can benefit from the funds that they say they're going to make available. This program could be one of the programs that I know will qualify, because it will adapt your your environment, to be environment friendly, so that you have low emission of the foul fuel, and then you now deepen the use of gas, which is the trend all over the world. So I don't know how much government is doing that in that area to access those funds, because I think this could qualify one of them. And then to us as a nation, our economy, believe you me, is huge, because we are recognized as a gas country, not oil producing country. Actually, if we are organized and we tap all the available resources that are there in gas, and then build the infrastructure, like he says. Because when you look at the value chain and the impact it will have on the economy, it's huge. We're talking about CNG, vehicle transportation, isn't it? You look at how we run, our houses, the cooking and heating and whatever you want to do. The small operators, people who are doing these their businesses, and even the industry, really, because it's cheaper, it's neater, but the startup, is the challenge. And I think that's why we are talking about how to get the foreign direct investment, into the sector. And I'm sure there are funds available that, if we are organized properly, will attract those funds to come to invest. So I think it's just for the government, to be organized, to understand that, as a government, you owe it to the nation, to impact positively, to the nation, not some interests that have no, bearing with what we are talking about, selfish interests and things like that. So, and also, I think the most important thing again is these regulatory agencies, how do we hold them accountable?
Okay.
Because regulatory, your government is
how do we get them to comply?
That's what I'm saying.
That's a major,
exactly, because a government is as strong as its regulatory agencies. And I think if we now look at from the private sector and attract, operators in the private sector to run some of these regulatory agencies, perhaps you will probably get some efficiency, which is what we are looking for. And also, like I mentioned, EFCC, ICPC, they should beam their searchlight on these regulatory agencies, because they are key. Those are the deliverable points to the average citizen. If the regulatory agencies are not efficient, then how do we get anything from the macro economic setups that we have, like the oil and gas, even the oil and gas itself? So the issue is about seriousness of us as a people, and how do we really make our operators in the government to become accountable. It's high time we did all those things that we are supposed to do.
Yeah, but
so that's why I think that is required.
Thank you. And I think when we talk about flaring, what is fundamental is getting people to be accountable. We have the laws. We all agree we have the laws. Whether it is the new bill that is coming, whether it is the one immersed in the PIA, or even the one gazetted, these are all rules and regulations that should guide, gas flaring in Nigeria. So, what do we need to do? And I hope you're there with us.
Yes, I'm here now.
Yes. So, I'm just wondering, a lot is going on around the world in terms of technology, in terms of using devices, to do things, and that's what we call innovation. So I'm just wondering, is there any way we can, is there any technology that we can employ? Is there any way we can adapt tools to get these, companies to comply with our gas regulation, gas flare regulations and rules?
For instance, can we employ AI?
I know that's where you're going.
Yeah.
Hello? Sorry. Yeah, can you? Yeah, okay. Sorry, a call interrupted this thing. I couldn't hear the last part of your question.
Okay, I hope the call won't disrupt my question again. I said we all agree that we have laws, whether is by way of the incoming the bill, the new bill, whether it's by PIA or whatever. There are laws regulating that both upstream and downstream sectors of the petroleum industry. There are laws regulating gas flaring in Nigeria. My question is, around the world, technologies are being used to, of course, to achieve innovation. How can we apply technology, and what kind of technology can we use to get, these companies to comply with their gas flare regulations?
Well, just like one of the guests I listened to said, the problem, all these things, I think the government has them in place, but just like he said, the seriousness, that is the seriousness and the commitment of the government, like how committed the government is in, coming in to check the menace of the gas flaring by the operators, that is the multinational oil companies, is the problem. Now, if you talk of the technology, they have all these things in place. They are, but the issue is, we should look at the seriousness of the government, in particular in this instance. There are laws, but you will see that these things happens almost on daily basis. But the process to checkmate all these things, most of the times you see that there will be compromise. You understand? So I don't think the issue of bringing in any new technology or whatever is even the case here. Is the seriousness of the government. Like this bill now is not only about the prohibition, but it says enforcement. And when you talk about enforcement, that means the government is telling you that it's serious this time around to go beyond regulation, but to bring in enforcement and through an act of the National Assembly. So for me, I don't think the bringing or using of any technology can make any difference. But the seriousness of the government in, taking the issue of the flaring as a priority. And in this wise, I am of the opinion that even if it means bringing in an agency, a different agency, that is now removing the responsibility of monitoring flaring activities from the NUPRC, because it's a very serious menace. Just like I cited earlier, like the oil spillage, they are the same thing. But now you will understand that the oil spillage, the oil spilling, government has given it much more attention than this gas flaring issue. And that is why you have agencies like the NOSDRA. You understand? So it is not about the technology. Sorry, it is not about the technology. It is.
Thank you very much for your submission there. It's not about technology, but more about the implementation that we're talking about. Yeah, but you want to say something?
Yes.
Just in 1 minute.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think it's also about technology. But then, how do you use technology? For instance, I'm aware of an initiative by Federal Ministry of Investment, that is the Western Major Department, to now have a database of all the measuring, weighing, and devices that you have, not only in the oil and gas sector, but particularly in the oil and gas sector. Because if you have a database, then you can from there be able to ask questions. how effective is this your metering device? Do you even have one? So before now, and as we speak today, they don't have such a database.
Okay.
As a country.
So we can employ
there's
technology.
There's Nostra. I'm just saying now.
Yes.
Nostra has a dashboard of gas flare data from 2012 to 2022.
Yes.
So
but I'm talking about the equipment.
The data.
Yeah, talking about
the instrument in measuring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. How authentic?
Yes.
Okay.
So what technology
because
what technology did Nostra
Use.
to arrive at this?
It's manual collection. It's the information they give them. Because your metering systems, if some of them should be intelligent enough to talk directly to whatever you are using as your monitoring system. That's what is happening in other countries. For instance, the crude oil theft is so rampant. You have the origin export. Crude oil theft. You have export. So it's so rampant in our own climate because you don't have a way of monitoring what the producers are doing, directly, and it's not too much money to do that.
Okay.
So I'm saying
Technology
that government is also, they have some initiatives, but how far have they gone with it is what I don't know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Abagi. You have said it all. That we can as well employ technology for this. Now, because of our time, Honorable Esiet, I know for sure that there are opportunities around this bill. So let's maybe in 1 or 2 minutes. What opportunities will the bill create, for Nigeria to transition to a more sustainable energy mix?
Yeah, the opportunities. One is that with the increment in the fine, it's going to act as a deterrent to companies that are very comfortable with flaring. So it will reduce gas flaring, save environment, and also revenue generation to the country. And secondly is that it will open up the business space for this gas business, like the Honorable DEC here, giving 2 different companies licenses. This one drill, you come and harness it. It doesn't work. You see what we did in the banking sector. We had millions, thousands of banks, and there was a time banks were meshed. But we have
consolidation.
Yes, for consolidation. So you can also do that. If a company is given a license, if you don't have, you can match with another company that has the expertise in harnessing the gas while you do the drilling. Because giving 2 different companies, definitely there's going to be sabotage by one company to another. So with this bill, by God's grace, is a way of also, is our own little way and the sponsors' way of ensuring that this issue of gas flaring is brought to a stop in Nigeria.
Honorable, what do we do? We talked about executive briefly in less than 60 seconds. What do we do to get executives to do their bit?
Vote them out. That's all. But we have to put their feet to fire.
No. Let's look at those with regulatory responsibilities. What do we need to do?
Yes, because they are appointed by the executive, and then the same, like I just said earlier, you got NNPC to set up the regulatory bodies. With the bodies that will regulate you are the ones setting them up. How does that work? And then NNPC is reporting to the president, who is the Minister of Petroleum, and that Minister of Petroleum cannot be interrogated by the National Assembly. So everything's, and then you are using NNPC as extra budgetary. What's the Financial Reporting Council? Because we cannot check the books of NNPC to know all those extra cash you are taking from there. So it's in a mess. So if we are serious in this country, clean up everything, and this nonsense should stop.
Well,
but you want to say 60 seconds?
I quite agree with what he has said, but like I said, it is perhaps government should start looking at the private sector to head some of these regulatory agencies, so that you'll have the efficiency you have in running private sectors in those, because they are productive sectors.
Government should look at the private sector. Thank you so much, Yabagi Yusuf Sani, petroleum industry analyst and engineer. Thank you so much for your contribution on Good Morning Nigeria today. Also, I want to thank Honorable Mark Esset, Chairman, House Committee on Inter-Parliamentary Relations and a member of the House of Committee on Petroleum Downstream Sector. Thank you so much for your contribution. We want to thank you so much. Also, Honorable Segios Ogun, former member House of Representatives. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. And our Zoom guest, Yaya Seidu, a lawyer and also a researcher. Thank you for your contribution today on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you again tomorrow for another episode. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurazak.
And I am Ademola Adeoye. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.